too worried about this tournament, and I don't say that in like, he's just like overly confident. I think he really is just very committed to GSL right now. So he's very happy kind of being, you know, in this, just playing with ping, and so he's going to be a bit loose with his builds, I think.
Definitely agree with that one. Well, we are going into Crimson Court. We'll see how fast and loose he can be. It's when he's at his most dangerous, is when he plays relaxed and doesn't care too much about the result. In the bottom left side of the map, representing Basilisk, it's Reynor.
Up against the blue Protoss in the top right corner of the map from Team Liquid, we have MaNa.
Historically, Reynor's done very well versus MaNa. I don't think that's a huge surprise to anyone, with the fact that Reynor is Reynor, and there's like 3 or 4 dudes in the world who have winning records versus him in big tournaments. So it's not particularly easy. Oh, he's going to go for the purple gas base after getting blocked. Not a bad move. Puts a bit of pressure onto the Protoss, and it launches an incredibly powerful Ravager Queen Walk off of that front hatchery with the purple gas.
That's the sort of stuff I'm kind of thinking we might see a little bit of him throughout this series. I think back to the series he played against Costum in the group stages, it was very aggressive. There was a Night Assault in, Green Walks, and more. Kind of expecting similar kind of vibes here against MaNa. And for MaNa, I think, you know, I don't really know what he wants to plan on doing, but I think a lot of it's going to have to just come down to, can I defend against all of these things? Obviously, when you see this forward base, I feel like a lot of players get tempted to go for the Twilight Council and to build glaives and be like, oh, well, you're spread out. You're trying to be very forward. I'm going to try and take the fight to you a little bit, but you've got to be so careful of the eventual possibility of just like a mass Roach Ravager Ling follow-up where you just do get overrun before Depths can really do enough. So things to think about here. We'll see what MaNa's choice will be soon, because the Cybercore's on the way. So a minute from now, we'll have a much better kind of idea of what exactly this game is going to look like.
Indeed. I'm always curious, because MaNa, I feel like, becomes so good in PvZ, small scale, low economy fights, and I think the pacing of Legacy of the Void and how quickly Zerg grows makes it very difficult for MaNa in this matchup, because the fights get big quick, and when there's a screen filled with Ravager Baneling, MaNa is not as comfortable as when he's got an Immortal, a Warp Prism, and Archon, and, you know, a couple of units just making elite Warcraft 3 style micro things happen. You put MaNa down 100 supply and he becomes a god. I feel like he's one of the best comeback players of all time because of that. But PvZ has always been a problem matchup for him, because like I said, there are just so many swarming fights where there's too many guys overwhelming. I do like the Robo first for MaNa. That can lead into a super fast all-in, or perhaps maybe one of those like Disruptor or Colossus drop plays.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good way to go about this. It's potential to kind of have the mobility around the bases to kind of punish this forward base a little bit, while also being very safe if Reynor does get aggressive, right? Because you will have access to, there's the Robo Bay. Something like Disruptor is obviously going to be very powerful in and of itself, so it's already a possibility. As we see ourselves, the Observer coming through, Warp Gate continuing up, and the Link Speed on the side of Reynor right now.
Alright, well, this is interesting. Very interesting right now. We are seeing that Robo-based second gateway coming up. Reynor, he's got that gas on the front, but, you know, he's just macroing for now. Just going 5 queens. I'm keeping an eye on Reynor and going, hey, are you going to drop a Roach Horn soon? Because if you do, there's still a chance of doing a slightly delayed queen walk. But if he doesn't drop that Roach Horn soon, it looks like he's probably going to go for like an Evo chamber and stuff. There we go. Roach Horn does go down at 350. But that's, of course, because he hasn't seen an Oracle yet. He knows he's up against some sort of ground-based play, needs a safety Roach Horn, 4 gas on the way for MaNa, and his Prism and Disruptors are being chrono boosted as we speak.
Yep, getting that underway here, getting that operational. Let's just see the Disruptor continuing through for the moment, so we get that all set. Let's just have the Prism Speed coming up, the Disruptor on the way, Roach Horn getting on the way. I mean, it's going to be about what these Disruptors can find and how well they can do over the course of this, right? That's definitely the thing we're going to be watching out for here. Let's just see those feelings moving about. The Queens are moving through. All of this getting settled for the moment as the Prism comes back home to go grab the Disruptor.
Les coming up nice and early. I like that choice for Reynor. That's going to give him Overseer Scouting, but also unlock some tech options. That being said, having built so many Zerglings, his work account is behind. And we are now seeing that Prism hang around, go after that Overlord, trying to catch that one down.
Yep, just going to be able
Okay.
to nab that there. Just going to be seeing that Overlord just going to get picked off, which is nice. And again, we've got a Prism Speed now. The double disruptor is setting up. So all of that getting underway, all of this being brought up. And again, the Prism is going to continue down to the bottom side of the map, looking to get some big connections, hoping to be able to find a lot here over the next few moments. Let's see how successful we can be.
Queens are looking in intercept, but MaNa takes a safe route around the left. He's going 4 gates before third base. He's going for a big commitment here. Oh,
no.
Losing a disruptor. Not worth it. Even though you get a bunch of roaches and lings, it is never worth losing a disruptor for that. Great discipline for Reynor, and honestly, bravery to stand and fight. A lot of players would run away and panic, thinking, oh, I'm not going to kill it in time. But he took the trade, and that works out for him. Does get a disruptor. This one comes in. Oh, he's going to go for the shot in the mineral line. Does get himself a few Zergons, but that Prism's heavily damaged, so he's got to get out of there.
Starting to feel very dangerous, and yeah, just losing a disruptor feels so bad. If you're going to eventually be any amounts of aggression behind this, you need as many of those tech units as you can. You're skipping over all of the Twilight upgrades, etc. This is your army, the teching robo units. Any one of those you're missing is just going to make life tough for you further down the line as Reynor. Well, he gets the Spire on the way, and you gotta love that, because right now there's not really a lot of anything that really does go shooting upwards, right? Twilight coming up now, but it's still gonna be a pretty late blink, and the Stalker count is gonna be something you then have to invest into. So I don't hate this idea from Reynor if he survives to get there, as right now the Disruptors will find a Queen. Another Queen gonna go running. The group spread obviously very far forward, allows him to kind of meet this very far out on the map. But it kind of has to be, because he's got a very forward base as well.
That Spire is big, though. Reynor's got a big worker advantage now. Like 3 bases full of workers, basically. He's got the gas building up. Spire's halfway done. And, oh, I do like that move. That's a nice move. But not the best disruptor shot. I would have liked him going after the drones there. Gets himself a Queen, though, which is something. The problem is, because mutas are coming out, Queens really aren't that important anymore. If this game continued to just be ground versus ground, it would be bigger. Now, there's no blink done just yet. It's just starting. But look at that, that Adept so well positioned, and he's pushing the front right now. Oh, getting 3 roaches to start. This is actually awesome from MaNa, and he's pushing just before mutas can be built, which is the right timing.
Yeah, because now you're going to force gas to be spent on Ravagers so you can have a defense here, which means less gas available to spend on Mutalists, which means less mutas, which is obviously just a good thing in general. Across the board as our Roachling sets up and just tries to find a defense moving forwards here again, but the force field is still very good for MaNa. And he continues to just edge his way towards this base, that forward location. He can shoot at the rich Vespene from the low ground. If he could deny that, that might be nice, although obviously it does put him quite far forward, so make sure you're not getting caught off guard in a fight during it. And he will also be able to hit the mineral line, so the drones actually just straight up pull away. Reynor starting to just say, hey, I'm evacuating this base a little bit.
This is awesome plays by
Oh,
MaNa, but oh,
no!
the prison! Oh no! Oh, he's so lucky that didn't go down. It's deep in the red. Losing the Prism and the 2 Disruptors would have been a disaster, but MaNa's still alive. He's still making a lot of Stalkers. Stalkers might not be the best long-term unit, but with an Immortal, a Colossus, and a bunch of Disruptors, they really complement each other so well. Not to mention those force fields. Reynor's doing a really good job of keeping his energy very low, though. Part of me wants to see some Stalkers blink on the high ground and go after those drones, but of course, it's a bit of a risky move. And look at this, continuing to clear the creep. Reynor's got some more units going up north for a counterattack. Oh, great dodges by Reynor, but even better force fields for MaNa.
Yeah, catches a lot there, and he is going to be able to grab a bunch of units once again. MaNa continues to be on the offensive. Moving up this ramp, Queen will go down. Another couple corrosive files coming in towards the army. We blink forwards, chasing this Roach Ravager. Melee upgrade just now finishing from Reynor. 15 more Roaches coming through. A few more Stalkers coming in, and corrosive files on that Prism. It finally goes down, so no more reinforcements. But you know what? MaNa's supply is looking very good anyways. Drones have to pull in to be the rescuing units right now. That's never a good sign. As our Stalkers, well, they're not going to be at home to deal with these mutas, but that muta damage is going to be so underwhelming compared to everything that MaNa has just achieved here.
Yeah, I mean, this is a great build choice by MaNa. Super micro-oriented, high pressure, and even if that delay, you know, that little bit of latency, you're going to get punished because the disruptor shots are so much more dangerous, not to mention force fields. Beautiful play by MaNa. I love this. Great play to also punish the front forward third. The Reynor went for, which is a greedy third base, and this is a great play by MaNa to take map 1.
Yeah, very well done, very well handled. I think you're right. He was very smart about his choice of build and what he wanted to do here and what that allowed him to do kind of in this game. And MaNa gets to go up 1-0 against Reynor. And, you know, it was always, every time I've seen Reynor play in this event, I've been like, well, I'm not going to get carried away and just think Reynor's going to kind of cruise through, because he is playing on ping, and, you know, that is a big factor. And especially when players know that, the chance to, like, prep for someone being like, well, what builds can I choose to make his life as difficult as possible with the fact he'll have latency? Like, you know, MaNa is a very prep-focused player as well, so I think this does build, you know, build into MaNa's chances of actually having a shot to maybe upset Reynor here and win a bracket round 1 of Europe.
Yeah, I mean, especially losing an early disruptor is kind of rough, but you know, he just gets a new disruptor in there, keeps doing the drops. That front base offering up a nice target, taking down queens. I like the way he slowly, methodically cleared creep as well. It wasn't like I've got to win the game right now. It was like, hey, I'm going to clear your creep and kind of abuse this ledge, deny your mining, make you feel like you have to make a play. So really well played by MaNa. Next map's going to be Golden Aura, which I think is something a bit more room to breathe for young Reynor. On the other hand, not one where I think it's too easy to pull off any sort of like nasty all-ins. And I know Reynor's pulled out a lot of aggressive play online recently, but I feel like ZVP especially, he's been kind of a king of like solid standard ZVP. Like, does feel like he's very inspired by like a lot of what Cyril's been doing over the last year.
Yeah, I get behind that. Is maybe if MaNa can just keep him away from that, that would be the answer then, because Reynor has just looked all around good when the game has been fairly normal. As I think Reynor had a little bug. I know he's had some issues joining lobbies lately. That internet in Korea having some troubles, but looks as though he's in here now. So we should be good to go for game number 2. Golden Aura will be our map. It is ZVP. We're going to get this started up in a sec.
This is going to be fun. This is going to be really fun. Reynor MaNa game 2. And you know Reynor doesn't want to lose ever. He's very competitive. Even relaxed Reynor is focused on GSL. It's going to be, rather than I am fiery competitive and have to win and want to win, and that's everything. It's going to be like, okay, I'm just at a calm. I really want to beat you because I think I'm the best. You know, it's still that drive there. Being down 1-0 is no surprise because he's been there a billion times before. A lot of his most epic tournament experiences, I think, and comebacks and things and stuff came from being down 0-1 or 0-2. Let's see if he can start that comeback train here on Golden Aura. In the bottom right, it's Reynor.
Top left, representing Team Liquid, our blue Prolus player is MaNa.
For those who don't know, Reynor's not only in Korea, but he's been kind of documenting a little bit of his journey over there. You can see it on his YouTube, on the Basilisk YouTube channel, and their Twitter pages as well, but or X as it's called now. It really is a stark difference. You know, back in the day when you went to Korea to play StarCraft, you know, it was 27 sweaty dudes stuck in bunk beds in a 2-bedroom apartment, you know, with a bunch of computers filling the place up. And these days, I gotta say that pad he's in looks bloody nice. That looks like a slick bachelor pad. It looks fantastic. Good to see Basilisk and the other people over there in Korea taking good care of him. And he's definitely feels like Reynor is very passionate right now. It's like his focus on the game is being rejuvenated after having a kind of hot and cold relationship with StarCraft over the last year or year and a half, where he'd practice really hard for a few months and then just not touch the game much outside of kind of messing around in a few tournaments for a few months, and then he'd kind of burn himself out repeatedly. So it's good to see he's realized that cycle wasn't working. He was very upset with how he performed at Katowice, and you could kind of see it not just in how he performed, but also how he reacted to his performance. Like, he was getting very upset with, like, and disappointed with himself. You know, he wasn't performing with the level that he expects of himself.
And now he's fully sending it, hoping to be a GSL jump, as we set up on Golden Aura otherwise for this game too. And of course, Golden Aura, when it comes to the maps in this map pool, still definitely stands out as one of these bigger macro maps. Intriguing to see, and now that MaNa's already shown us something, you know, a little different for that game 1. I'm very excited to see what else he has planned for the series. Obviously, we expect a bunch of Stargate stuff at some point, than there is Stargate now. But obviously, what are the follow-ups to this Stargate? Is there any kind of twists and turns planned, or is this just going to be a Stargate here and there with oracles and then just very normal play? Yeah, I'm very interested by MaNa's choice and, like I say, his preparation for this series and what he thinks is going to be the best chance of giving him a shot against Reynor here.
You know, as much as I'm always a big fan of Zerg's kind of mixing in a lot of gamble dark style and really being very hard to pin down or predict in ZVP. The power of being so good in standard play, which Reynor's really been working on in this matchup, is if you're a guy like MaNa who's a very good player, but it's not your strongest matchup, it's always been kind of a weak point for you, you just want to avoid standard situations like the Plague. You really don't want to play triple Oracle into Blink. You know, because Reynor's just so good at the tiny details. It feels like a losing battle, and that puts pressure on MaNa to keep these curveballs coming. That build in map 1 was perfect, but he needs more of those, right? And that's hard to do when you need to string 3 wins together. He's going to go Void Ray, which is a great way to deny scouting, kind of change things up a little bit, hide whatever you're doing in your next step. Yeah. So far, no losses. Good defense.
I feel like the Void Ray is still a bit of a twist on the typical Stargate open, and not something we never see. But it's not the most normal way to play it, and if you do push back the first Overlord or 2, yeah, Reynor does not know exactly what's up, and even if then you're just playing standard, you might just have him a little bit worried about what the next step is, right? And even the Zerg playing a bit concerned could be a factor. Things get the Adept. One downside of the Void Ray first is that you don't have an Oracle to necessarily activate against Lings, but the Lings decide it's not worth taking enough damage off the Void either. One Overlord dead. Reynor just trying to recreate an Overlord to get out the supply block that he's closing in on, and yeah, now our first Oracle will pop out, so MaNa will have some more presence on the other side of the map once more, and it's the second Oracle queued up immediately after. So no kind of weird tech choice behind this after one Oracle. You know, maybe you could have thrown down a super quick Twilight and been aggressive off of that, but no, just Oracles and just taking a more macro approach this game.
We can still see triple Stargate into Mass Oracle. Twilight Council, it's standard. But no, you're absolutely right. Very, very straight up play. He is supply blocked pretty badly, though, as MaNa right now. He's got to wait for his Nexus to finish. Oracle, is going to take big damage. Only gets... Okay, he does get a second drone. I like that he got the second one. Reynor did a really good job of delaying his spores, seeing that it was Void Ray first. So he's only built 1 Spore Crawler in his natural. And he's just relying on good queen positioning to defend the main in the third, and already taking a massive worker advantage of 10. That supply block really hurt MaNa there. He did lose about 4 or 5 probes of production, and he's going to try to catch up now. But since he doesn't have any curveballs, you would hope that he'd scared Reynor. Reynor did build a Roach Warren at about 4:30, which is a bit earlier than normal, to be safe. But despite that, his drone count is insane. His 4th is already down. Like, this is scary. This is so scary. Reynor, I've seen him do this on this map a few times. I remember once versus Harstem, he hit like 90 drones at 7 minutes and just had so much stuff. And I was like, oh gosh, if you can't make him feel the threat, Reynor gets out of control on this map.
It's one thing the Void Ray will not do is really provide a threat, right? Like, obviously, yes, if you do something weird behind it, but if you know, if as Reynor, you just say, oh yeah, you're building a Void and you're just going to build Oracles and there's nothing crazy coming, there's nothing threatening, then okay, he can just kind of maybe get up to that stupidly high drone count stupidly quickly. And a couple of depths here do go in, we get a few more drones, so we do slow down the worker count of Reynor, which is nice to see from MaNa. We'll get a couple of Lings as well. Stasis is very nearly going to catch, but the reaction was there in the end. We get 2 more drones off the Oracle though, and honestly not bad with the Oracles. They're starting to do much better than they were originally doing, because when that first one flew in, it looked as though it was going to be a complete disaster. Well, like I say, we're looking a lot better now at least.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like the way he created a bit of chaos there. It does cost him 5 adepts, but the Oracles are still alive. He's building a 3rd one. Reynor is massing Roach. Nothing but Roach's Roach speed, +1 range. No infestation pit yet. Hasn't droned his 4th yet. But now, there we go. Hydra Den and drones on the 4th. Is Reynor playing Rogue style? Is he playing Rogue style? Oh my gosh. Rogue has been doing this recently. This is old school, man. 2019 kind of Rogue PvZ. Basically, Roach Hydra aggression every game, and if it gets scouted, he just hard transitions into Hive. Just goes like Lurker Viper. But the thing is, like, it is a kind of good surprise attack. A lot of Protoss kind of go, oh, you know, this must be Lurkers, and then bam, Roach Hydra just overwhelms. Other games, they overreact, and you can deny their 4th base while they turtle on 3 bases, and then you can transition from there. So there's some decent play from it. We'll see how well this does. As Reynor doesn't have an infestation pit, he's not droning. It really feels like it's just mass Roach Hydra all in.
Well, it is a big amount of units swelling, as you mentioned, and Storm on the way. Storm can be nice, but it's also one of those things where you need the numbers, because storming a few Roaches is great and all, but you need in follow-up to kind of buff through those. Yeah, if the Storm lands on the lane/Hydra portion of it, then even better, but the Roaches are going to be looking to take the brunt of the damage here, so Is MaNa gonna A, have Storm in time? Yeah, I think so. B, will he get the Storms and have the buffer to kind of like follow up from those Storms? That's the big question on my side. We still see units spawning. The Oracle's picking up that info. Reynor is set to come in from the left and the right, so he's ready. MaNa instantly blinks on those first few Roaches before the Hydras come in. They'll probably end up canceling this fourth base, and you know, the High Templar. Storm is not quite done yet, but I mean, the rest of the army is not quite in the front yet either. So we're talking down Hydras, and I feel like MaNa's not doing a terrible job initially. There's just going to be so much Zerg continuing to come this way.
2 Oracles have already gone down in this game, and the Infestation Pit drone transition started behind it. This is what I was saying. If you can kill the 4th with this, you don't need to kill the 3-base Protoss. Don't get me wrong, MaNa has triple Robo building right now, which he needs against such a heavy Roach count. He does need that Robo production. Stalkers are there. He had a great Storm before, but what I love about MaNa is he's keeping the Storm in reserve. A lot of players make the mistake of moving too far forward, using the Storms too early. You got to save that energy, because if the Zerg does try to push in and force the issue, you need to have that Storm in reserve to keep you alive.
I think Roach Hydra still pressing up. High Templa's still in the back. We got a Void Ray here. Has +2 attack and charge continues in. 2 Robo facilities building for MaNa, so getting those up and running as well. Bring those out and hopefully get something off of them, but the pressure from Reynor continues. Despite the fact he's on double Lurker and high follow-up, he is still kind of just sitting here and trading a little bit, and obviously forcing his opponent to not be able to retake the 4th. A few drones go down to the Oracle at least, but it feels like very minor damage compared to the fact that Reynor is just swarming at the moment.
Yeah, MaNa needs to drop that 4th this second and hold the probe key down. I love that he's got triple Robo. Now, something I've been kind of discussing with different players here is I really do feel against these mass lurker styles, Robo Bay and getting like 3 to 4 disruptors is so huge. I think you can definitely defend with Immortals, but it relies kind of on perfect positioning and good flanking and stuff. Whereas getting just a few disruptors out can be absolutely game-changing. Now, right now, MaNa's pretty broke. You probably can't afford it. But that is something I'd like to see if we see like this sort of battle of Immortal Storm up against Lurker Hydra being protracted for the next few minutes.
A bunch of Lurkers coming up here from Reynor, so 11 of those on the way. We are going to have ourselves Seismic Spines coming through. That Adaptive Talons is building, +2 missiles finishing soon as well, so he's going to be full force very soon. Obviously, the Lurker upgrades are the real kind of holdback right now. Once he has those, these Lurkers will be as good as possible, and I'm sure they are going to commit to some extent as we go to the upper left. And MaNa is just on the wrong side of the map, so this is going to get really, really wild.
I think this could work out for him, though. If he just goes full base trade, I think he's got to send it. He's got to send it, and I actually think this could work out well, because the Lurker upgrades aren't there yet, and they're a siege unit. They're kind of awkward when it comes to pushing in. So if MaNa can get a few more Immortals out and some Storm at home, he could do it. The Stalkers are getting jumped on by Zerglings. Good force field, though. MaNa's so clutch with these little technical micro maneuvers. That's what I'm talking about. You know, in the midst of this chaos, most people aren't thinking about a force field there. MaNa does. Storms the drones as well. Dude, this push, he kills the Roach Warren. Yeah, he's going to lose his 3rd. Would be good if he ran his probes away, but he's building Immortals and Observers behind it. He's got stasis traps. This could actually work out really well for MaNa. He's just got to protect this army and keep it alive.
Storms continue to come through. Lurkers are going to get stormed as well. We're actually going to jump on some of these Lurkers right now. He does have the Observer right there, but he's losing an Immortal. He is just getting cleaned up. All of a sudden, this fight was horrible for him. Too much damage coming out, and Reynor gets the full cleanup. I was with you. I could kind of see the potential for MaNa, but it fell apart very quickly there as that army kind of melted. A few Lurkers showing in, the units from the other side, and that is good enough to make this a 1-1 scoreline. MaNa and Reynor get tied up here in the best of 5.
Yeah, just not quite enough meat and potatoes with that army for MaNa there. Reynor was, of course, in a pretty good position with the numbers. I thought with those Lurkers being out of position, it's like, hey, if you kind of engineer a high-paced base trade like that, suddenly you're killing drones on multiple bases. If he ran his probes off his 3rd, I was like, okay, maybe he like gets all of his workers, you know, over to the 4th base. He buys some time with some Immortals, and like just a few Immortals and Storm and batteries and stasis traps. And I just love Reynor's reaction. Just doesn't get stubborn, pulls all the Roach Hydra home, a lot of the Lurkers as well, comes in from all sides with Lings and drones as well. And when you come in with the surround on creep, we suddenly see that those Zerg units, yeah, they take damage to Storm, but they're naturally spread coming from multiple angles, and he is able to surround it, eat that army up. So he does tie the series up before we go into Ghost River, another cramped map, where I wouldn't be surprised if MaNa wants to keep the pressure up with maybe a quick Twilight opening.
Yeah, actually, could be an option. Obviously, the small map, short one to run across, get some Twilight Adept play going. Could be a cool option as we like you said, I mean, he's mixing it up a lot so far, first 2 games, so absolutely possible. Ghost River, game number 3, 1-1 here between Reynor and MaNa. Reynor bouncing back. And he's very clutch. You know, he has been behind in a series 100 times before. That is not something that ever really affects him mentally or anything, so it was not really expected here. And so far, so good in terms of the recovery. And the top left-hand side, looking and hoping to get back on top, will be the blue Protoss player, MaNa.
And over in the right side, the favorite in this matchup, Buddy, is playing on that away disadvantage. Korea to Europe ping. We'll see how he copes with it in the top right. It's Reynor. It's a very early probe. I mean, there's making sure you block, and then there's getting there 10 seconds before a 15-15 gets down. And it's like, whoa, that is MaNa saying, I do not want to let you get that expansion down. It's interesting because I feel like you could send it a little bit later, just simply because Reynor has been basically, I don't think I've seen him do a 15 hatchery in a while. It's been almost all just, take the third, 16 hatch. I want the fast ling speed. You know, I'm sick of these double adept pressures. The harassment's been way too powerful with Adept Oracle. I'm just going to play the old school style every game and kind of go back to that. And so far, it's been going pretty well for him. MaNa's going to be annoying with the probe, nonetheless. Just harass those workers, but you can see Reynor counter-microing very, very well. And whenever those drones get bounced off the patches, he fixes it up.
Well, the probe gets down to build the Nexus, and that means that we are going to have that underway already from MaNa, so gets that started. And of course, the wait to see what the tech structure will be a little bit from now.
Gambling time, Wardy. Guess what tech do you think MaNa goes for? I think Twilight.
I'll say... I'm going to say Robo.
Yeah, Robo again. I mean, it wouldn't be bad, eh? It looked pretty sweet. I think Robo would be cool if he then does like just a 6-gate all-in or something. I don't even know if that can work against someone as good as Reynor, but I feel like that sort of old-school move would be really cool.
You really need... I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, if MaNa's had time to prepare anything, something that could work, be down for it. I said Robo. I actually think Twilight's the most likely, but I didn't want to say the same thing as you, so... But also, since Stargate's such a boring guess, right?
Yeah, but hey, Stargate it is. I feel like MaNa's gonna play probably like 2 Stargate, like Carrier or Tempest Rush or something like that. I don't know. I don't think he really wants to play super standard Oracle Blink. Maybe he does. And you know, there's some good Blink timings you can do as well. You don't have to play it in the most standard style. Like you can delay Forge and do one of those really slick 5-gate Blink pressures, take a quick 4th behind it, and then add double Forge. There's a few nice build orders that mix things up and just make things awkward for the Zerg to defend. Meanwhile, Adept does arrive. 3rd hatchery has started. Reynor is going up to a total of 8 Zerglings. Ling speed's on the way. He's only on 24 drones. This is what you need to do to be super safe against the Adepts early. But behind it, he's going to be going non-stop drones and queens the moment he's stabilized here.
Non-stop. As we do have 2 Adepts making their way up through the natural into the main base. So they're just going to send themselves up over here. Just going to see a Zergling going down, make it a 2nd Zergling as well. So that's 2 Lings, 3 Lings. Ling number 4 also going to get picked up. That's not bad, but obviously not a single drone found. As Adepts will finish up a couple more Lings as well. So hey, at least you got something off of these Adepts. Unfortunately, it's going to be the end of them as we pull that one Ling away. And that is the Adepts cleaned up by Reynor. Fairly comfortably in the end, just cost him a few Lings.
Oracle's in behind it. Let's see if that can stack some damage on top due to the distraction. Oh, that Spore trick was real slick. Gets 2 drones, takes a bit of damage, but I think that's acceptable for MaNa. You know, it was a good reaction by Reynor, but you're keeping the pressure up, you're keeping his economy low early on in the game. And we are going to see Forge Twilight. It is a Zealot opening this time. Goes Forge Twilight before 3rd and 4th cast. So he wants to go quick +1 in charge. Don't know how committed he'll be to the Zealots. Going those upgrades before even taking the 3rd base is quite a venture from MaNa. MaNa's got to build a pylon here. Supply blocks did get the better of him a little bit in the previous 2 games here and there. They'll start that pylon pretty quickly, so not too bad.
Twilight and Forge finishing, so we can start up the upgrades behind all of this. And the Oracle's still trying to find a little bit of something out on the map. Again, only the 2 Oracles, so it's never... There's not as committed as the 3 Oracle, which means the Blink is a bit faster. How
Oh, this is
aggressive
a
do we think
crazy
we get?
dive.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
already damaged. Yeah, that was 100% going to always be a sacrifice. You might be okay with it. You know, you get 5 drones, you are slowing down Reynor's build-up, but losing the Oracle, there are a lot of Protoss players out there who say it's never worth it to lose the Oracle unless you're trading it for like 12 workers. They're like, nah, just keep it alive. Its value over time is worth more than that. I don't know. I think 12 is a bit extreme. I'm not sure what the actual number would be, but I do think 5 drones is kind of like maybe 50-50.
Yeah, no, I think honestly 5 drones is pretty nice. Obviously, a little bit sad that there's only 2 oracles to begin with, right? Because then it's like, you know, now you've only got 1 left. All the gates coming up, by the way, as that +1 and blink comes through,
Yep.
so potential to get aggressive on the blink timing. Blink's on the other side already, though,
Yeah.
picking off some probes and just slowing down. MaNa's set up completely. The more you do that, the better off you're going to be finishing things.
The Zealot was between the minerals and the gas, but it was like slightly off position, so the Ling's got the full surround on it. Just like, it's one of those things where you're like, just off by a couple pixels there, MaNa. Just a little bit mispositioned, and does lose the Zealot and a bunch of probes on the third. That being said, he's keeping the worker count pretty close. If you can kill this Overlord, that's nice to kind of tie things up a little bit. Just keeping damage happening on both sides of the map. Oracle doesn't have energy. Oh gosh. Warping in a few Zealots in behind the mineral line. Charge and +1. Well, Charge never actually started. It did end up being Blink, but definitely weird build order. Because it's early Blink, but I guess he was planning to do the 6-gate Blink pressure, but yeah, it's not really rounded out because he's taken so much economic damage that it feels like MaNa has to kind of go away from that into a more standard game plan now. And like with the Robo and the Sentries, it looks like he's just going to try and go Colossus.
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. I think he was absolutely thinking like, oh, I'm going to go for this big blink timing, this big bit of blink pressure, and he just got completely shut down from that idea, so he's ended up in some trouble now as we do see the Stalkers chasing the Lings away out over to the left-hand side. Again, Robo Facility, Robo Bay coming up, +2 attack on the way in as well. So we do see MaNa just completely transitioning out of any sort of initial aggression here, and just going to go into that Robo attack and playing from there.
Warcrawler in the natural does defend. These Oracles going to have to regenerate their shields. Stasis Trap's a bit naughty there. MaNa does think better of it. Overlord speed's on the way for Reynor. Mass Roach on 65 drones. Roach Max is probably the most simple way to kill Protoss, and it is so bloody reliable. Because Protoss is always thinking, is it Mutas? Is it Swarmos? Is it Lurkers? Which one's he doing? And then, is it Ravager Bane, Hydra Bane? And then you just run across with a ton of Roach Ravager Zergling, you just win the game. Is it going to work here? Not necessarily. There's a Mortal Disruptor building. That's kind of the perfect thing against this. He's got 2 Overlords for the Queen drop. I don't think you need that. You've got Creep already to his base, so I actually don't think the taxis are needed at all. It almost seems like a waste.
No, I'm with you. It just feels a little unnecessary. As you see, the Oracle's already jumping on these Ravagers. The Rovers are so eager to get across here. First Disruptor is ready, but where is it? It's going to have to come from the naturals. It's going to come from an odd spot and it's going to expose itself. However, Reynor not ready for it. MaNa pulls back. Just a few Roaches in the front. Now that Disruptor getting jumped on, but Reynor's numbers are going to be lacking by the time these Queens finally show up, which is right now. There's like a handful of Roach Ravager left, and this does not feel as though it's done what Reynor wanted.
Yeah, the Disruptor shot, like, yes, the Immortal went down, but the Stalkers have done well. Oh, those Biles do hurt. He does spread creep on the front as well, allowing himself to transfuse here. I guess being able to transfuse in the action does make a difference, but definitely that Stalker count can just stay alive. MaNa, this is where his clutch micro is needed more than ever. He's got to keep some probes alive on this base. You don't want to lose all of them. He's got 2 Colossus on the way, but they take such a long time to build. Feels like those Colossus maybe weren't the right unit to build in the midst of this action. The numbers getting out of control. He just doesn't quite have enough Stalkers to hang on. The Roach Ravager's breaking through, and he's losing a lot of workers. Battery Overcharge does come in. Oracle's going to start to take down at least 1 Ravager, but the transfuse is fantastic. Oracle's pushback. Stalkers are going to eventually stabilize with the Colossus coming to the low ground, but Reynor has a huge supply advantage. It's mostly Roaches. It's not the most long-term plan, but the Stalkers dying are so expensive.
Yeah, all these Stalkers starting to drop, and Reynor just really starting to overwhelm now. There was a point where it felt as though MaNa was closing the gap, but yeah, he just couldn't really hang on in there. The reinforcements just showing up too quickly, and I think you're right. I think it is the problem of the Colossus. They just take so long to arrive. you know, and by the time they arrive, they're just, you know, the kind of closing of the supplies is kind of, you know, completely gone anyways. So yeah, missed
54
opportunity.
second build time.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit too long, I think. I think the Disruptor's like 35 or something.
Yeah, it's way
20-second build difference is massive.
It's huge in these situations for sure. I'm genuinely kind of surprised he went for Colossus as well at that point. So yeah, I think Disruptor's more of them. Like, it feels bad because Disruptor has to like come out into the open to shoot, but the Colossus just is like you just said it right. It just takes so long.
I think Immortal might be better actually. I think Immortal's probably the best
too.
in between. Like, probably don't miss Stalker warp-ins at all, right? Because that's the most important. It's just units that get there immediately. Then Immortals second, Colossus third. Disruptor's probably actually lowest priority once they're there, right? If you can keep a Disruptor alive and fall it into behind your third mineral line, I think it's really good, right? But if it's coming from the natural, like you said, once the fight's all spread out, they feel kind of useless. So that's a really good point, Wardy.
Yeah, no, that's I actually would have liked Immortals, like, especially because it was so roach heavy on the follow-up, right? Like, it was just roaches spamming across the map. So honestly, maybe you get some Immortals out, and you know, maybe that is the difference. It's just going to be getting them to the army though, like getting them across to that third base and joining with the Stalkers. But that's going to be difficult with anything. Anyways, Reynor now up 2-1. We go to Alcyone for map number 4, and the hopeful start of MaNa is fast disintegrating, fast disappearing, as Reynor now takes the lead and is a map away from moving to the winner bracket round 2.
Yeah, I think Crimson Court was a good map for MaNa, and it's a map where Reynor choosing to take that purple gas base kind of played into MaNa's strategy really well. Since then, it's been a bit more back and forth. I guess technically a slight supply block hero there, like on Golden Aura, did hurt him a little bit. Other than that, though, it doesn't feel like there's too many big mistakes from MaNa. It's just that Reynor's early game it's always this mixture of kind of tight defensively, but also almost like ridiculous levels of greed mixed in with it. Like, it feels like he drones faster than anyone when he's got a handle on what's going on in the early game. And I like that we saw the Oracles keeping the pressure up a little bit more in that last game, but the Ling counter aggression was huge. So very scary, very hard to deal with. And we are going to be going into this next one. Let's see, can he get the 3-1 in the bottom left side of Alcyone? It is Reynor.
Top right hand corner, the blue Protoss player from Team Liquid. It's MaNa. Bigger map, Alcyone, so opportunity to see a few different things perhaps pan out here. I mean, this is going to be a tougher one to find like a big kind of green walk on, for example, from Reynor's point of view. Maybe he would have to actually bring the taxi across this time around, so potential for something along those lines. MaNa, obviously, he has mixed up his build kind of throughout, so we'll see what game 4 brings us. He's not done the same thing twice so far, so yeah, absolutely another chance to mix it up again and to see if something else will perhaps find him some success, or maybe he just sees, you know, the first game as a sign just to return to what did work for him so far, and just to go back to that more aggressive kind of robo style.
And there's part of me that always wants to see more cannon rush out of the Protoss players, you know. It's such a lost art at the pro level, I feel, right? Parting brought it back for a while, and he stopped doing it eventually. But you know, it was interesting because he kind of made people afraid. Like, I remember pros were so disrespectful towards Cannon Rush, and he got so many free map wins because they just didn't pull enough drones. They weren't preemptively pulling drones. They were always underreacting. And there was a certain point where like everyone was afraid and pulling a worker to like block the abusive positions on each map, and they were always kind of a bit paranoid about it. And then he stopped doing it. I do think maybe that's one thing that's kind of missing from the strategic range of top Protoss players these days in this matchup.
That's a really cool little thought to think about.
Maybe I just played too much NA ladder though. Who knows, right, Audie?
Surely not. Can you ever play too much NA ladder?
Well, like, these builds are really good. I lose to this all the time.
Yeah, maybe there's a potential to play a little bit too much NA ladder. I don't know. Cool ideas though, as the Stargate is the choice from MaNa here, so he is going to just go again for one of the more standard tech options. Again, we have seen a Void Ray first, we've seen Oracles first. We'll see what the choice is for him here. I do feel like his follow-up is still likely to be different. Last game he went Oracles only and then tried to go into that kind of more aggressive Blink setup, but then had to pull out of it. Would imagine if he plays it this time, is less likely to be the more aggressive blink setup and a bit more kind of even more macro focused from that point on.
I think map control is huge against Reynor, and I think that's something you really need to actively put a lot of focus into. So if you go Void Ray first, which he is, you want to preferably push forward and try to like pick off a few drones and overlords and stuff, but that means you need a lot of extra defense at your third, right? In terms of like extra depths, perfect positioning. You can't let Reynor surround any of your early gateway units. That's actually massive. Like early unit trades are very important. And these little edges are the things that Reynor runs away with. This is why he was nigh unstoppable in Zerg vs Terran for a long time, because he just got better at all the early little micro trades. He'd get his creep tumor down a few seconds faster. He'd, you know, deflect the Hellions with a few less Zerglings, focus the Reaper down better. And I really feel he's brought that speed, attention to detail, and focus to ZVP early game lately. So you got to be very cautious. That's once again very early Forge Twilight, is it? Or just the Forge, perhaps?
Forge Twilight. Okay. For a moment I was like, oh, just a Forge, but no, Forge Twilight comes in and that is quick.
Now I'm looking for it and I'm like, are we gonna pull off gas? Are we doing a 3-base chargey lot, MaNa? I don't think so. It'd be kind of wild, but maybe just more of like a Zealot Archon opening or something like that, or Zealot Archon Immortal perhaps. Yeah. I do wonder. It's a very quick bunch of 3 more gateways, so yeah, he's gonna have the potential for a quick +1 charge timing. Maybe just commit with like 12 Zealots while actually taking a 4th behind it. That's actually a very solid timing.
It could be kind of cool. So, like we've been saying, MaNa definitely switching up game to game, trying to catch Reynor off guard, making Reynor work for it. You know, making Reynor kind of really trying to figure out what is going on, what is being done each and every time, and just trying to, you know, like I say, catch him off guard, catch him making him a misstep, because he's not able to fall into any sort of like comfort zone so far. See the
Reynor's got his Roach Horn on time. He's being pretty respectful. I feel like he's not playing. I'm used to Reynor getting too greedy sometimes in his series over the last year or so, but this time he's been pretty on point. Good micro though from MaNa. 3 drones in and out. Doesn't take too much damage. Well done. If he can get rid of these Zerglings before he shows his hand, that'd be great. That Zergling gonna get cleaned up by the Void Ray. Nice catch. Overlord speed's on the way. Reynor's planning the same sort of strategy, and that's perfect. Because not only can this kill a lot of Protoss strategies if they don't execute really well, but it also keeps you safe. If you're gearing up for your own attack, guess what? You're going to see Zealots coming. You're like, oh, I was about to move out with my own Roaches. This is fantastic. This is actually perfect build choice for Reynor. This is so unlucky for MaNa in terms of like build counters. I mean, half unlucky, half just amazing choices by Reynor. MaNa needs to run away when he sees how much stuff Reynor has and pull back and defend.
Yeah, he needs to just pull for sure, as we see so many Roaches here. The Zealots are going to run in. Oh, they've kind of... Okay. I thought they were going to keep going, but they were already kind of pulling further out to the upper left, so they are going to run away. Double Robos on the way through. Queen's going to get some damage onto the Void Ray here as more and more Roaches just spawning into play. Lings are into the natural, though. That's the last thing you want to be dealing with right now, as probes will start to drop, and that's just such an annoyance when you're getting ready to deal with some aggression from the Zerg, and you're obviously now going to be dealing with less economy and with having to warp in all over the place instead.
You know, they say to be the best, you got to study the best, and it looks like MaNa's been studying some hero replays this morning. Oh, that's unfortunate, mate.
Yeah, that's the one part of the hero game you maybe didn't want to copy, the lack of a wall off. Yeah, the depth there as well is just not in the right place, as our Roaches are going to come across the map from Reynor, and he is going to go and push himself onto that 3rd base. I mean, honestly, just losing 16 workers there, suddenly MaNa's already down on probes on this defense. And, well, Oracle is going to try and get some cancels. The Overlord's just going to fly by, wants to bring the Queens to the front very quickly, get rid of this Void Ray, it seems, is the plan. The Overlord is actually going to get knocked down. We did not manage to transfuse it, so that means no creep on this side, so no transfusions available. Void Ray and the Oracle both dead already, though, and this is very Zealot heavy, so if these Roaches just stay clumped, it's going to be difficult. We're trying to come in from all sides. The Queens are going to get caught, but honestly, I don't even know if I hate that. There's a Queen drop in the natural as well.
Oh, Reynor, what? Queen drop in the natural. He's styling right now. He's having a lot of fun with that. The Queen drop there looking really good. The Roaches do get surrounded and cleaned up, though. Dude, MaNa, impressive hold. Unfortunately, his workers have been shredded. The Queens are even going to the main right now. Oh, it makes you wonder. This was actually a really sick defense with the Void Ray into the Zealot surround. If he didn't lose those workers beforehand, this could have been amazing. Oh, dropping a deuce inside your opponent's main base. Bit disrespectful there, Reynor. But obviously it is actually an effective move as it gives you scouting. It is a very nice move. Stalker's going after him. I don't think he's going to be able to get out of there.
Oh my goodness, 3 HP. Will unload on the natural and probably just go for a couple final probe kills or so. He's going to hit the Stalkers at the moment. MaNa is moving across the map. I mean, MaNa's economy is absolutely shot. He's about to have +2 attack. He's going to warp in some more Zealots. He is just going to send it with one big hit. At least that's what it seems like, although currently pulling back from the center. I imagine it's just to reposition and go a different direction. Knocking down creep tumors. Reynor is building nothing but units. He knows the situation. He sees with the creep tumor there that obviously he's like, oh, I don't see you building any probes off the Nexus. So that pretty much just tells him, okay, you are all in me. And that allows him to just build nothing but units and set up to try and play defense here, which is still not going to be easy, but you can also lose a few drones while doing it. Holds with the whole position on the drones, helping out a little bit as the Roach Ravager comes up. Immortal's going to have to micro back, and the Zealot's still trying to make progress. They are just so stuck on that mineral line. Prosophiles missed the Prism, though, so Warpins may continue for a bit, and Immortal micro, but there's just too much here from Reynor. MaNa's numbers are dropping down.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit odd there, but that was kind of funny. For some reason, I don't know about you, but I can't see a flyer helper underneath that Warp Prism, whereas I can on the Observer, so I'm not sure if that's the same for Reynor as well. But, you know, there's often, you know, if you have the setting for the line underneath the unit, I don't know if you have that turned on. But for whatever reason, I can't see that on that Warp Prism. I mean, you still can see it, the unit highlighted when you hover a bile on it, but normally you aim for the circle on the ground underneath. You can change that in the gameplay settings for anyone who doesn't have that on. But just an odd little thing. I don't know if it's the same for the players or not.
Yeah, that is actually weird. Is the actually I don't see it for the Observer either, so. Oh no, I do see it for the Prism. Never mind. If I click it properly, my bad. All right, well.
Be funny if Mapu, like, it's different for him. I don't know. It's,
yeah,
it's different for everyone. We don't know. Anyways, good build for Reynor, honestly. This was just like very smart build because it's just so hard to stop these attacks. And we've all watched Dark play. Dark just does these sort of like random Roach Queen attacks all the time. And he transitions even when it goes terribly. Like the number of times he wins when he's down 30 supply or something, or down 50 workers or something ridiculous is huge. So the thing is, it keeps you so safe as well. And we saw that it kind of just hard countered MaNa's build to a certain extent. Now, maybe if the units didn't get in the main and the natural would have been a different story, but this just is a testament to the pace Reynor plays at. And it's hard to describe because, like, it's easy to just look at like the small mistakes MaNa made and say, oh, well, just don't do these small mistakes. And then you realize like the pace of playing against a guy like Reynor, it's very different to a lot of the practice you normally get, where you simply have to play faster and do more things than you're used to doing against your normal practice partners, because he's more active with his Zerglings, he's more in your face, he's looking for those openings, and he will catch you out all of the time, as we see right there with an Immortal going down. Two of them do get saved, but the Roach drop in the main still having a bit of a party, and even with battery overcharge and a Prism, 'tis but a dream for MaNa right now.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much Roach Ravager. I don't think the battery overcharge is anything to actually be concerned on here. We just go attacking in. Prosophiles will knock down the pylon. It does not depower the battery, but doesn't really matter too much. GG, well played, Reynor. It will finish this series up. 3-1 victory for him, and he's going to go cruising through to upper bracket round 2 here in the ESL SC2.